by the sculpture Shattered, which you can see here. The sculpture Shattered, as the title indicates, represents trauma, and Griselda develops that in her new book. It is literally destroyed, distorted, maimed. Physically wounded, it wounds affectively. The work could be designated as a psychophysical disaster. Etymologically, the noun disaster comes from the cataclysm of stars. Shapochnikov's sculpture is a cosmic catastrophe in its own microcosm. Well, more East European women artists to be discovered, both that cultivate hospitality. Christiana Robb-Narbuth, also coming from a Jewish family. Most of the family was killed in the Holocaust, and you can see behind this vitrine an installation of her family. Next to it, a mastaba that Christiana Robb-Narbuth drew for her dead mother. And little gifts that Christiana would give to her husband and to her friends. Drawings about the elements shiver and vibrate, installations, small everyday gifts, invite in, they are hospitable, and surprise. The subject of Christiana Robb-Narbuth's art is the human subject and the meaning of life. Her works form an inner subjectivity that becomes a mental space, but a social space at the same time. Life, that is bios, constitutes the content and form of her work. I see it in her drawings and installations. If Walter Benjamin, Roland Barthes or Georgia Agamben connect art to the death drive, here it is tied to eros. Well, I could spend more time on this artist, but let us go to the artist that you probably would be very interested in. After all, most of the presentations at IOTA deal with design, and here is this ethical design par excellence. Krzysztof Wodiczko, a US, Canadian, Polish artist, who constructed this alien stuff, an instrument that serves the stranger to communicate their story. And another important instrument by Krzysztof Wodiczko, the vehicle, the New York City vehicle for the homeless. This is also the art of hospitality. A little work that reminds us that intertextuality is also hospitality. We are exposed to the alterity of text and images. We commune with them, experience them, show them, participate in them. With our drives, desires, through culture sublimation, we create hospitality towards textualities and audiovisualities. Neither textuality nor visuality exists in isolation. Each meshes with other to form networks and mosaics, the Kristevan mosaics of intertextuality, the between, the inter-esse. To Kristeva, every text absorbs and transforms other texts. It is a mosaic of quotations. To me, hospitality stretches from the inner life and love to the politics of cosmopolitanism, but also to intertextuality. The path of hospitality then leads from the intrapsychic experience through intersubjectivity to the political confederacies of alterities, strangenesses. And in between there is intertextuality. That's why I try to create this queer bibliotherapy, installation of books that can be used by each and every visitor, and the texts are there to be read. We love, therefore we are. We create, therefore we are. We are hospitable, therefore we are. Feelings, sadomasochism, and creation comprise intertextuality and hospitality. And towards the end of this little invitation to a discussion with you, a question: can contemporary cruelties in Eastern Europe and elsewhere be countered by a counterculture of hospitality? Well, we almost lost hope, and this is a very telling quotation from a book that Lara Perry has kindly recommended to me. The bloody slaughter of hope is ubiquitous, truly globalized. Globalized precisely by the neo-Nazis and the neoliberals who are in power. Yet there is hope for a utopia. Frederick Jameson is with us, and he speaks of a spiritual concentration of this hope for utopia and utopian art. How does it link with our thinking about university? Athena Athanasiou put it brilliantly. The corporization of higher education, which is sweeping around the world, is founded on a conception of knowledge as property, commodity, and a measurable commercial asset that needs to be immediately available to the managerial agendas of global business elites. As universities and galleries and museums and the art market as such become accountable to corporate governmentality through regimes of knowledge commercialization, quantitative assessment, auditability, and benchmarking, the humanities and the social sciences, especially those using critical epistemologies, sorry for the typo, represent a risk, but not only economic risk, but also political, since critical thinking is cast as a hazardous surplus to entrepreneurial university or museum or gallery. In a context of marketability and bottom line efficiency, the humanities are rendered redundant. I'm wondering how we might imagine an alternative future for the university in these anti-intellectual times. And how do I proceed in this context? Well, I think that we should celebrate the experience of utopian revolt, hospitality in everyday life, hospitality in strikes, industrial actions, protests, but also in our little proximities in the quotidian. As Julia Kristeva says, in order that the desires of men and women be rekindled, humanism teaches us to take care of them. The loving care for each other, the care of the earth, the young, the sick, the disabled, the elderly dependents, constitute inner experiences, but I would also say outer experiences, social experiences and experiments of hospitality that create new proximities and surprising solidarity. We have no other way to experience the anthropological revolution already announced by the leaps of the sciences from uncontrollable processes of technology and finance and the inability of the democratic model to channel the new pyramid. And I thought I was so old-fashioned coming from the school of Siksu and Kristeva, and I am, but suddenly there's a revival. A British cultural science scholar, Imogen Tyler, wrote a fantastic book, Revolting Subjects, reviving the Kristeva notion of abjection and applying it to diagnosing contemporary Britain. And what Tyler says, and I would like to finish with that, this is a powerful appeal, and I would call for just the same. At a time when the formative foci of cultural studies are more urgent and relevant than ever, I would like to imagine Revolting Subjects, the title of her book, as a backlash against the current forms of post-ideological scholarship, often expressed in more or less overt ways as a fatigue with issues of race, class and gender. We are too cool for school and we no longer deal with race, class and gender. My hope is that this book reads as an unashamed return to the critical vocabulary's energy and oppositional politics that shape the emergence of cultural studies as a field of study. And to conclude, free pussy riot.